The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to Old Space Show. I am Brandon, and this is my companion, Steven.
Hello.
This series of Old Space Show follows the intergalactic swashbuckling escape annex of Raj Blake and his ruffian crew in the first season of Blake's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Today, we are discussing the 6th episode, Seek - Locate - Destroy.
Callie is captured by the Federation when Blake and his crew destroy its communications center and steal the cipher system. Old rival Space Commander Travis is ordered to seek, locate, and destroy Blake, and he plans to use Callie as bait.
Veer Lorimer returns to direct this. He did Cygnus Alpha previously. As always, take a knee for Terry Nation here, the credited writer. And starring Gareth Thomas, Sally Nivette, Paul Darrow, Jan Chappell, Michael Keating, David Jackson, Jacqueline Pierce, Stephen Grief, Peter Miles, Ian Cullen, and the voice of Peter Tuddenham as Zen. So, two big things happen this episode. Servalan and Travis.
Yeah.
The most sci-fi name of all time.
Travis. I mean, this is the beginning of Blake 7, isn't it? Let's face it. This is it. This is episode 1. I like the first one. I like Spacefall a lot, but if you had to say, where would you start with Blake 7? Boom.
Barnabas Collins just showed up to Dark Shadows.
It's prototypical. It's what was so kind of frustrating about the past 2 weeks, where we said that it's kind of been, spinning its wheels a little bit, is that the episodes have to sort of happen at the pace that it happens to the crew of the Liberator, which means episodes seem to take a while to sort of get going because there's nothing to sort of cut back to and in an alternate storyline. There's always just sort of random event on the Liberator and then other event that's also on the Liberator. Starting with this episode, we now have a proper villain in Servalan and a face to the villain so that we can have scenes with Servalan to intercut with stuff that's happening on the Liberator, and it brings a face to the villain, and what a face, what a performance, what an iconic image to have this glamorous yet sadistic female leader of the Federation in Jacqueline Pierce with short hair as she always has throughout the entire run, which is magnificent. It just felt like an entirely different show. Did Seek, Locate, Destroy? It felt like honestly, I asked the Twitter account Making Blake 7, who's been very chronicling the history of Blake 7 on and off throughout the years on Twitter, and is very much a big Blake 7 fan, obviously. And I asked him, when was this episode conceived and made? And it was conceived in 1976 and made in December of 1977. The reason I asked that is because you can almost start to feel Star Wars creeping into the influences, and maybe not quite in the storyline, but just there's a lot more action. There's a sort of rebels breaking into the base sort of thing. This feels kind of like the Dirty Dozen meets Star Wars a little bit. It gets a little more Star Warsy as the season goes along, but I feel like this is kind of the start of that sort of approach to what kind of science fiction show this is going to be.
Right, and the Travis being all kind of in black with his face covered a bit.
Right.
Definitely can kind of feel that way. And yeah, this gives it a little more. It gives a face to the Federation, the villain that's going to be around. I think a big bad, and then you get the Travis character, which adds some personal stakes and a sort of like wild card element to Blake Seven, because while he works for the Federation, he's kind of out for his own. His only loyalty seems to be, throughout the series, seems to be more towards like Servalan's the only one who can really talk to this guy. Mm-hmm. But he's definitely his own element as well that helps through here with the personal history with Blake.
Yeah, I two things about that I like. I like that we hear like the one officer who used to be friends with Servalan, but then comes to her sort of like saying like, you're reinstating Travis. Mm-hmm. Understand that no one wants to be around that guy anymore because we all hate him. We find this out before we're actually introduced to them, which is perfect. His reputation literally precedes him.
Yes.
Oddly enough, I feel like Brian Croucher sort of matches the sort of history, like the sort of character that is being talked up more than perhaps Stephen Greaves portrayal, but we'll save that for another day. And secondly, and this is what I love about older television, in that we see Blake tell us, and tell the crew of the Liberator, basically his origin story with Travis, because he thought he killed him many years ago, but he hadn't. And he sort of goes, boom, and he tells him the story, and then I shot him. I swore he died. If that was made today, there would be a flashback scene,
right?
And which would be wrong because, Blake assumed that he killed Travis, but he was obviously wrong. If we were to see that as a flashback scene, we could see, obviously, that he was wrong, but we sort of have to trust Blake's word on it. And it's just one camera pushing in on him as he tells this story. And I find that much more effective than some cheesy flashback would have ever showed.
I actually noted that this scene, like, I loved the way it was. You're 100% right. It would have been flashback. We might have even had a full episode on the day it happened. It would have been the penultimate episode of a Netflix Blake 7 series.
Yeah,
because it's always the flashback in episode 9 of 10 or something like that. But the way they did it, so it starts with Travis telling a story, and then as he's telling it, it pans over to behind Travis. There's a screen, and it has a still image of Blake on there, and it pans over to the image of him. And then Blake's voice takes over while that still image is there. And then we fade over to Blake on the ship. And then it cuts in. And then it does the zoom thing telling the whole story where everyone's around him. It's really engaging for how simple the camera work is. Just it's the choreography of it all, which, come up probably on set, not like really too much post-production, because why would they have filmed both if you weren't going to intercut them like that?
Yeah.
But just the way it played out, the way it, like, super engaging, and you're just like, you're drawn in. And I was like, that was really clever, because he's talking about Blake, the image is behind him, you pour over here, Blake is now on the screen, so his voice comes in to segue it over to him on the Liberator, finishing off the story of these two guys telling their history, handing it off to one another. I thought that was really awesome.
It was a fact. There were. I mean, it's directed by Vera Lorimer, who is okay, but there are elements, especially action scenes, where I feel he doesn't do the job right. And I kind of wish that we would have seen Blake's reaction to it, to Travis being mentioned on screen. We don't. We hear him say it, and Everett says, "Do you recognize that name?" And then it cuts to Blake. And I wish that the conversation had been on Gareth Thomas at that point, the camera, and then we hear it from off camera, Avon talking about him, whoever it was, and then we see Blake snap up and react. I think that would have had a little bit more punch. It was a good scene, but I think it would have been tweaked and made a little bit better.
Yeah, true. All good points there. Yeah, this. But yeah, Vera Lorimer. Yeah. Directing or not, this, I think, there's just a lot of strengths in this episode to overcome whatever he's lacking, because it's just.
There's a lot of great stuff. There's a break into the base, which is very
I love
exciting.
how it starts. We start boom, mid-mission.
It starts it. Yeah, exactly. A previous Blake 7 episode, they'd be showing off their new outfits on the bridge of the river. They'd be talking about things that let's do this, okay, let's do a long, laborious, here's how we operate the teleport sort of thing, that going on. No, boom, you're down, you're in.
Winter clothing already on. I'm loving it.
Winter clothing already on. We as a viewer don't quite even understand what this place is, so we have to sort of find out about it as the scene goes along. They break in. Finally, also, not only do we have faces to the Federation in Servalan and Travis, but we have Federation scientists and communications officers and guards who take their masks off at some point.
Yeah.
So, it's so effective just to have someone to actually focus on as opposed to just random extras. We can actually see who these people are. And I think that's so effective. And then there's a great sequence where they break in and they have to hold up people and they put the charges on and everything. And then all of a sudden Callie's stuck there and it's going to blow up and everything's like, oh my God, this is and it's a really, that's just the first half of the episode.
Yeah. It is. It's pretty awesome. And we also get the other, if you don't have a rock quarry, a power station or something is another good place to film British science fiction.
This is our second power station in 6 episodes of Blake 7, so that establishes something that we will not see the end of anytime soon.
Very true. And all of them have different color coordinated winter outfits. They're the same outfit, just different colors.
Yep.
And we get snappy lines from Avon right away. Someone said, Avon's right. And he goes, I usually am.
It's great.
The teleporting's different, too. It's wavy. There's no outline. I can't tell if that was just a directorial thing, if they hadn't quite landed on how this is going to be made yet, or maybe they decided to change it. Vera Lorimer says, we're going to do it this way this time, which, I understand how TV works sometimes back in those days. Right.
It's like, how are we going to make the TARDIS to breathe? It's going to do this time. What do we do? What do you think about that? Yeah.
Yeah. There's no Bible for the set or anything like that, but, that's part of the fun with it, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Callie they steal this cipher machine. They take a big cooler to steal a cipher.
Yep.
We get to see a lot of Villa in action, picking locks and hacking or carving into panels and stuff.
Right.
But Callie gets left behind, as you said. But there's the cold decision made by Blake. All right, well, we're leaving her behind.
Yep. What can he do? We can't go back in. The security's going to be swarming. She's probably dead.
And thus we shall be Blake 6 once again.
Until we find another 7 somewhere.
Yeah, but then we get to go to meet these faces of the Federation at the Space Command, and it's a giant, big wheel in space.
I love it. I love the design. Yep. It's so recognizable. There's a slow pan across to this massive giant wheel. It's a great space station design.
Yeah. And Servalan just immediately, if you didn't know who Jacqueline Pierce was before, you'll never forget her now, because she just eats it up.
But she's honestly, it's funny, knowing what to expect later on in this series from Jacqueline Pierce. It's a very muted performance from her. It's you could tell that there's evil and deceitfulness in there, but she's nowhere near as camped up as she'll get, and it's fascinating to see the journey that she takes in that role.
Right, and she's just the type of person that's I don't know if the good guys can beat her, because she seems like she always wins.
She's competent. She's not a cackling villain. She's a competent leader by the looks of it, who obviously commands respect and some terror from people under her. Apart from even Travis, sort of is kind of kowtows to her a little bit. He tries to come off as this this renegade soldier with an eye patch and stuff. But you know what? No, he knows what lines not to cross, and that line is Servalan.
Yeah, and Blake, he's just a man backed by a handful of criminals, extremely lucky to evade capture so far. Yeah. She would. Oh, for Doctor Who people, she would appear in the Two Doctors, which I talked about a couple years ago on Old Space Show for season 22. So might recognize that, where they put a wig on her in that one, though. There's a big. I love this thing with the debate that they're having about him becoming a legend. that's a problem. Like, it's not about what he's doing. It's about how people react, respond, or it gets around the galaxy. Like, he's building a following, they say. I don't know how. They haven't really done much, like, in these couple episodes we've seen.
Right.
All they did was escape. But, yeah, so she's like, you know what? I'm just going to put some guy out, and his only job is to kill him. So there you go.
It's basically Blake Seven becomes Robin Hood. Servalan being the sheriff of Nottingham, sending out the guy of Gisborne in the form of Travis to go find Robin Hood in the form of Blake, because they're rousing the rabble right now with their tales of breaking into communications centers and blowing up, escaping from Federation starships. They're, as you say, they're becoming a bit of a legend amongst the populace. And I compared that, like, maybe this Star Warsification sort of happening in the show, but right now it's Robin Hood. It's Robin Hood in space.
Yeah. That child molester might be up to good.
Yeah.
They said on the news. Travis has a plan. Well, he goes down to visit the place where they just took the cipher from. He has a plan to, like, get him back because they find Callie, and he has one reliable flaw: loyalty. So he wants to keep her alive. So they can get the code, and they could change the codes for the cipher, but he's like, don't do it. Like, he's like, don't do it. We're gonna trick him into coming back here. But there's a glorious CSO lab shot during Travis where he's telling him, this guy, what's going on. I was like, oh. Okay, for a lab, but
yeah, I know. It's like he appears like in a circle in the wall, which I wasn't sure. Like, it's supposed to be like a view screen or something, or is he like in his mind? I wasn't sure what was going on, but I thought I admired it.
Yeah, because we have telepaths here, so it's not going to be the first episode at all. But yeah, so this plan goes awry for Travis as Blake's already there. He's like, a trick I learned from you. I got here first.
Yeah.
So
on film, a scene on film. I'm not sure why. This is another bit of Vera Lorimer complaint that I have, is that he, for some reason, seems to edit around the important bits of the action sequence, because there's an earlier part where, like, a guard gets shot or something like that, but we don't see the shot. We just sort of see the after effect. In this scene, it's like he hits Travis's hand and it sort of starts to explode, but we cut away really quick, and we don't really see the explosion. It's his action scenes are edited strangely. For Vera Lorimer episodes from now on, watch how the action scenes are edited and tell me if that's just a weird thing.
No, I'll take a look. Yeah,
it seems odd to me, and these are just sort of the things that always seem to be happening. So there are elements of that. It seemed choppy, that last sequence when it was on film. I'm not sure why it was on film, but
odd choice in angles for some of the things that would look cooler if they would. There's like Travis with his laser hand. Because Travis has a modified body because he's got this huge eye patchish thing on his head, but apparently he could have been healed up, but he chose to go like that. And then he's got a fake hand that has a laser on it, but it's like a ring or something.
Yeah,
it looks like
it's got like a laser, a special flash cube ring or something like that also acts as a laser or something. Yeah.
So it's but yeah, Blake outsmarts him. He tries to it's like they get in a head-to-head. But Blake had a great line, which reminded me of the Mad Men one of like, I don't think about you at all. But he said, "You don't matter enough to kill, Travis." Like, damn. But then Travis tries to laser him, and they shoot. Yeah,
it just hit his hand. Well, that hurt a little bit, but
ouch. Callie steals his gun. They get away, and then Travis has this run as far as you and fast as you like. I'll find you. You can't hide from me. I'm your death, Blake.
It's a great line. When you know what's coming, it just feels like Blake sort of continually outwits Travis. So it's like, it's diminishing effect each time he sort of comes up with these like departing, I'll get you next time, gadget, that sort of thing. And it's like, will you though, Travis? I'm not too sure.
Try again. Yeah. He becomes, he would, they kind of use Travis in like a same way every season. But, so like this, in modern TV times, Travis would have been like this ruthless villain in like for one season, and then you would have like brought him back later to a lesser quality, serving a different master, maybe helping out or being more of a joke type person, because like you only last that cool and bad for one season if you're like. I don't know if you're familiar with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but there's a character named...
Not really, no.
There's a character named Spike with the bad... He looked like Billy Idol as a vampire. It's like the baddest guy in season 2, and then, he gets defeated or whatever, and he comes back for other seasons, but he's kind of a joke, and he ends up slowly becoming a good guy. But like that, I've seen it in other shows too, where, there's this early villain that's like just the baddest guy, but there's always something worse that comes along later. But gets used traditionally, but Travis is rather status quo a lot of the time. The stuff will happen to him. He'll have his own arcs, but
yeah. We'll see what happens in season 2 when it comes to comes to Travis and how much he evolves and changes in between the 2 seasons too. True.
But yeah, so this one moves along. It's got stuff. It's engaging. New characters are great. They'll be around. They'll stick around for us. So, this is definitely, and more Servalan, the better. Like it's great villain.
Absolutely. I don't know if they realize what they had in Servalan because like I said, she kind of starts quieter here. But they really grow the character as the series goes along, and I don't know if they thought, oh, she's going to be great and she's going to turn into this massive crazy camp villain or what, because and if they did, that's awesome, and if they didn't, well done to realizing the potential of the character and the actor playing that.
She almost is the show herself, like at times, like it is just like that you hope she appears in as many episodes as you can get.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Her.
Yeah, because with Travis to sort of do her dirty work, she is not really foiled. Like she can win without, she can lose without winning and win without losing. If that makes any sense. It's Travis who's always the fall guy. Travis is the one who has failed, but that doesn't necessarily upset Servalan's entire plan, which is which keeps her being the strong villain that she is, because she's still president of the Federation. They're in no more danger of toppling the Federation at the end of an episode, even though Blake seems to have won that skirmish, than anything. Travis is the only one who's sort of put out, but Servalan is still well in control of the whole situation, and that's what makes her a credible villain.
She's in it for the long game. She knows she's going to lose a battle here or there, but as long as at the end she gets what she's coming for, that's totally her game. And you can see it in her performance. It's great. It's just she is definitely different in this episode. She's very cool, cold as ice type thing, and then she'll get bigger as it goes on, but I love every moment of it. So
yeah, absolutely.
So Stephen, that'll wrap us on this one. The show has begun.
6 episodes in, we get our first episode. It's pretty great.
All right, so of course, before we go, let people know where they can find you, share your information.
Yes, find me on Twitter at Legopolis. I don't talk too much about Blake 7, but maybe I will now that I'm on a podcast about it. I'm also on Radio Free Skaro, Lazy Doctor Who, and The Memory Cheats, talking about Doctor Who all the time.
All right, and I'm on. For right now, we're keeping score. Hashtag Blake1, Travis 0. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brand4KUHC, written work at whysoblue.com. There's more from the Brand Peters Show next Monday, I believe. Yep, we will be running the commentary for the 1955 film noir film Kiss Me Deadly. So tune in for that and come back here for all new Old Space Show on Wednesday with Stephen and I talking more Blake's Roman numeral VII.
If it takes all my life, I will destroy you, Blake. I will destroy you. I will destroy you.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.